Have you ever heard something so new, so completely different, that it just shatters every rule you thought you knew? We're diving into an ancient text from the 7th century that did exactly that. We're talking about a literary form that, according to linguists then and now, showed up once in all of human history, and for 1400 years has never been seen again. Now, get this. That quote isn't from a fan or a follower. It's from al-Walid ibn al-Mughira. He was one of Mecca's top literary critics and hardcore opponent of the Quran's message. But when they asked him for his professional take, that was his honest-to-God answer. He couldn't define it, he couldn't categorize it, but he knew it was something else entirely. And that, right there, is the riddle we're going to unpack. So, to really feel the shockwave this text created, we have to travel back in time. Let's go to 7th century Arabia. You have to understand, these people were obsessed with language. For them, poetry wasn't just some hobby. It was their internet, their movies, their history books, all rolled into one. Being a master poet was like being a rock star. In their world, every single thing you could say or write fit neatly into one of two boxes. That's it. You had poetry, or shi'r, super strict, with 16 complex meters and precise rhymes. And then you had prose, or nathr. That was basically everything else. Telling a story, giving a speech, haggling at the market. There was no third option, period. So imagine you're one of those master poets. All 16 meters by heart. You're at the top of your game. And then you hear this recitation, and your brain just short circuits. It's not prose, but it's definitely not poetry. It breaks all the rules because it doesn't even belong to your rule book. It's a sound that shouldn't exist. Yeah, this wasn't just a catchy new poem. This was like a whole new category of speech suddenly appearing out of nowhere. The first reaction from Mecca's literary superstars was just pure confusion. These guys were the best in the world at what they did, and they were completely and utterly stumped. Let's really put ourselves in their sandals. You're listening, and you hear this undeniable rhythm, right? It's musical, it has a powerful cadence, but when you try to map it onto one of the 16 meters you've mastered, it doesn't hit, not even close. You hear these beautiful rhyming-like endings to the lines, but it's not a predictable A-B-A-B rhyme scheme of a poem. And it's obviously not just some guy talking. It's way too musical, way too structured for that. So, what on earth is it? So, what was going on under the hood that caused this bewilderment? Well, this wasn't just a gut feeling they had. Modern linguistics can actually pinpoint exactly what makes this text so alien, so unique. Let's break down its code. First off, there's this wild idea of rhythm without meter. Think of it like a drummer playing a beat that's so complex and innovative, you can feel it, you can move to it, but you can't predict the next beat. It has structure, but it's also completely free, unbound by the rigid rules of poetic meter. Next up, the verse endings, what are called fawasl. You know how in a song, sometimes a lyric feels a little clumsy because the writer had to force a word end to make it rhyme? The Quran does the exact opposite. The meaning is everything. It picks the most precise, perfect word to convey the meaning, and that word just so happens to create a beautiful, echoing sound. The meaning drives the rhyme, not the other way around. It's a total flip of the script. And this leads to maybe the most mind-bending feature, semantic density. It's like linguistic high definition. A single word can unpack into multiple layers of meaning all at once. Take the word alaka, which describes an early stage of the embryo. It means a clinging thing, a leech, and a blood clot, all at the same time. And all three are scientifically accurate descriptions. This level of depth and conciseness is just something else. Now, here's where it gets crazy. The text doesn't just show up and act unique. It actually makes a testable claim. It throws down a gauntlet, a challenge known as the tahadi, to anyone who doubts where it came from. And this is where a literary debate turns into an actual experiment. And this challenge was laid out in stages, getting easier each time. First, the call was, okay, produce a whole book like this. Nothing. Then the challenge was lowered. All right, forget a whole book, just give us 10 chapters. Still met with silence. Finally, the challenge was brought down to the absolute minimum. Just produce one single chapter like it. And how big is a single chapter? Well, the shortest chapter in the entire Quran, Al-Kawthar, is made up of exactly 10 Arabic words, just 10. So the final standing challenge is this. Come up with 10 words that have the same unique rhythm, the same resonant endings, the same semantic density, the same power. Just 10 words. So what happened?
You've got a public challenge issued to a culture of literary giants. The gauntlet is thrown. What came next, or rather, what didn't come next, is probably the most powerful part of this entire story.
Right away in the 7th century, a rival named Musaylama tried. His attempt was so bad it was literally laughed out of town, and it only made the Quran look even more unique. Then you get to the opposite golden age, the absolute pinnacle of Arabic literature and science. Surely someone tried then, right? Nope, not a single serious attempt is on the books. And for the next 1400 years, silence. And here's a critical piece of the puzzle. We have thousands of the Prophet Muhammad's own sayings, called the Hadith, and they're beautiful, eloquent, wise examples of human speech. But when you put his own words next to the Quran's text, they are stylistically night and day. They're not even in the same ballpark. So how could one man be the author of two completely different literary forms? Now let's fast forward to our time. We can use computers to do what's called stylometry, basically giving any text a unique linguistic fingerprint. When scientists do this for the entire body of classical Arabic literature, the Quran stands completely alone. It doesn't cluster with poetry, it doesn't cluster with prose, it doesn't even cluster with the prophet's own speech. The data confirms it. Statistically, it's an outlier of one. So we're left with this profound riddle. We have a text that's not poetry and it's not prose. It was delivered by a man who was known to be illiterate. The greatest wordsmiths of his time, who were also his greatest enemies, admitted they couldn't produce anything like it. And in the 1400 years since, no one else has either. This leaves us with the exact same question those first listeners in Mecca must have been asking themselves. If it didn't come from a human, then where did it come from?